Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video I'll be showing you guys how you can better defeat the Meep boss in the Metaverse event or Spring event or whatever you want to call it. So first thing you have to do is you have to get over the teleport, and to access the Meep boss you'll first have to complete Mia's quest if you haven't already. I know most of you guys probably have, seeing how the event's been out for a week. So yeah, once you do that you can go over here and get to the boss. I know this is basically mainstream for all of you guys, but yeah, when you get that ready, so there's a lot of small things that you can really do to improve it. So in this video I'll be going over some of those. That'll be the first part, is going over some basic things that everyone can do to improve, and then later in the video I'll also be covering some of the things that you can do extra on top of that, like grinding for gum or getting some small perks. But yeah, let's get into it. So one of the first things that you can do to help you avoid damage is in the dungeons while doing the ghosts, is instead of using your hoverboard is just continually to walk away from them and go in circles around them. This just helps you avoid all the attacks, since the attacks are slightly slower than you. I know I have 2 times agility, but even without 2 times agility in previous dungeons I've been able to go basically fine through the dungeons. You'll get hit every once in a while, but just walking around allows you to control your movement and avoid most attacks at the same time. So you can easily vacuum up all the ghosts and avoid the attacks. Another thing that you'll be wanting to do is getting the ghosts as fast as they spawn. Instead of letting them stack up a little bit before doing them, or not worrying about them as much, you should actually be trying your best to be able to vacuum them as soon as you can. This will help make sure that they don't stack up and deal a lot of damage. And also, in the long run, it will help you complete each dungeon slightly faster, which will end up as time saved during your grind. And one of the last things that you need to really be doing while you're doing this boss, is during the boss fight, just staying as close to the boss as possible. This has a few advantages. First of them being some of the attacks, like the minigun, won't be able to hit you even if you're standing still. And this includes also the miniguns around the side, and also the when he does the circular motion with his minigun shots. Really the only exceptions that can hit you is the ghosts surrounding and some in the random shots that rain down along with the movement one. But overall it saves you time, since your shots take less time to get to the boss, and allows you to vacuum it easier once his shield falls, so you don't end up missing a cycle. And that's a giant time save, not missing the cycle, since each cycle you miss adds another 40 seconds to the total time it takes to take Meep, which can really add up if you do it a lot, compared to the small amount of potential loss that you get from corruption, which isn't too impactful. Even if he does do two drives at you like that, it really doesn't make sense for you to be risking the potential time loss from. And those are all the ways that you can just statically help your boss. Anyone can do those strategies, and they can actually really help out your fighting of the boss. But next we'll be covering a few of the things that you can do outside of the event to help yourself just do the event better. One of the first things that you can do to really help yourself during the dungeon is to use glitchy vacuum to help yourself vacuum ghosts faster. Upon using this, you'll be able to basically instantly vacuum up ghosts, allowing you to clear the dungeons a lot quicker, even if you only have one stream. This is really helpful and can save you quite a bit of time overall. Alternatively to this, I have used some loot gum, which can also really help during the dungeon to increase the amount of emerald drops you get. But overall, you should probably be using one of these 2 gums when you're grinding the dungeon. Another thing that can be really helpful during the dungeon part of this boss is the use of an overcharge. While grinding, you can use an overcharge if you misclick or just don't want to worry about messing with ghosts, to instantly clear a room. This can be actually quite helpful, especially if you have been missing a few ghosts and they've started to stack up a little bit, to instantly get rid of a lot. Especially if you don't have gum. Overcharge, for anyone interested, is actually, it does take a while to get. It is obtained from completing Ghost Hunter Rowan's questline from Antenna level 18 to 20 of the back door, which, if you aren't there, it's probably not worth your time put into it. But if you've already unlocked his areas, and it's only like an hour grind to get everything from it. So if you want, you can go do this, and it can be actually it's a little bit helpful during the event. Another thing that can be really useful during the boss fight is if you have the gum, to use either a glitchy X gum or a boss gum. Doesn't necessarily have to be glitchy. During the time that he's down for the first time in a fight. Since these gums last 2 minutes, you shouldn't have much difficulty with getting to the end of the boss before they expire. And since they are going to be pretty low by the time that you get to use them, will allow you to use another gum by the start of the next match. In doing so, you can actually earn a lot more from an event rather than not using it too, which can save me upwards of like 15 to 20 minutes from this event run. And one of the other perks that is actually really helpful, it might take a little bit longer to do, but it's actually heavy armor. You get this from Leo in the Ghost World. It is really helpful and allows you to not get knocked over by these ghosts, which really saves you a lot of effort, since you don't end up getting wombo comboed by like 20 ghosts as often, and will just be a nice feature. It does take a while to get for a new person, but in the end it is a really helpful perk to have. So grind for that if you have access to that. For example, I know a lot of people have been doing rebirths recently, and so they end up not doing a lot of quests, but definitely going for heavy armor is definitely worthwhile if you're going to be doing lots of dungeon stuff. One of the last things that can really help for the dungeon is actually the use of something that you've probably already seen me use, is the multiple streams from Captain Finsley and the Master Hunter from the Rebirth perks. If you don't have the Master Hunter, rebirthing takes quite a while to do, so it might not be worthwhile. But Captain Finsley only takes like an hour to do if you have him unlocked already in the main hub. And the additional streams from it really help out during the dungeon. In most scenarios, people do completely disregard multiple streams once they get Master Hunter, but during the dungeon, having the additional 2 streams for a total of 5 from both of those can actually be really helpful. So if you have one already, it's helpful to have both, and if you have neither already, having the additional streams actually does help out quite a bit. So if you want to, you guys can go grind for these additional streams and really help you out. On top of this, the more agility game pass, like I've already somewhat hinted to recently, does help a little bit with the thing, so if you want to go buy that, you can, but I usually don't include game passes as something really important to buy in Ghost Simulator. But yeah, if you do want to, you can actually buy the more agility game pass to help with the dungeons, along with, if you care about the drops, the 2x items and more game pass, or in the double boss drops game pass to also help yourself. On top of that, there's also an event pass that does the same thing, but just for the event. But I wouldn't recommend that, since it's stacks additively with with gums, and just as a whole isn't going to be as helpful in the long run. And the last thing I'd like to say about it is one of the things that you can actually really help improve your ability to grind the event is actually spending time on the event. I know this one's kind of self-explanatory, but what you have to realize is that the Meep boss only takes between 5 to 8 minutes, depending on which gums you're using and how good you are to defeat. So instead of taking your 10-minute breaks between either classes or in your long-term breaks of instead of watching YouTube or something, you could have spent that time logging onto Ghost Simulator and just doing 1 or 2 Meeps, and just end up getting a lot of just random keys that way, which do in the end add up. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a fun time playing Ghost Simulator, and I'll be covering part 2 of the event, which is planned to be released this Friday. So I'll see you guys then.